Everyone, I wanted to provide a quick video, Agent Training 101, if you will, just to a very high level to go over some general questions for each one of the following: home inspections, vendors, final walkthrough, closing statement, and commission request. So these are just high level discussions for these, and future videos or current videos actually will go into or do go into greater detail on these. So check out the YouTube channel that I have for you guys, or just ask me for a requested video and I can send them to you. The first one, home inspections, both for buyers and sellers. For buyers, the first thing you want to do with the home inspection is make sure that you have for your protection, get a home inspection addendum signed. That is on eBrokerHouse on the buyer's kit. You want to make sure that's one of the first things you have them sign. You can have them sign one with without the address written in, just so you can use it for the address that they actually do a purchase and inspection on. But it's absolutely critical from a compliance standpoint that you have them sign that, so get them to sign that right away. Do you do home inspections for new construction? Yes, absolutely. A lot of people, a lot of agents actually, don't understand that even with new construction, you should have an independent home inspection done on the property. I would strongly encourage you to do that. Keep in mind that the building manager or construction manager, whatever their title is for new construction, he works for the builder. So always keep that in mind. You want an independent opinion on new construction. I've personally saved my buyers a couple $1,000s because we had an inspector go in. When should you go to a home inspection? If you have the buyer, you should be there every single time. Absolutely, positively every single time. One, so you're aware of what's going on with the property. And two, to make sure that the home inspector isn't taking an inordinate amount of time. Typically with like a 1,500 square foot property, it shouldn't take more than an hour, 90 minutes tops. For 2,000 square foot and above, 2 to 3 hours tops, depending on the size of the property. But really, you're looking at an hour and a half to get done with most properties. Also, because you don't want the home inspector speaking to your buyers and providing his real estate input on the property. And what do I mean by that? I've had several instances, and any realtor that's had a couple years experience can give you the same horror stories of home inspectors thinking that they're real estate agents and want to give their opinion on what the property's worth or whether the buyer should buy it. You want to make sure that the inspector's on point and that he understands or she understands that she's there to inspect the home and get you a report. That's why it's also critical to have a good home inspector or inspector's pool to pull from when you're offering referrals to your buyers. So absolutely critical that you should go there every single time. So should sellers get home inspections? Yeah, on certain occasions, absolutely. Why? One, as a feature added benefit to buyers. Buyers agents absolutely love it when there's a home inspection attached to the property because they can show the home inspection to their buyers ahead of time, and if their buyer's still interested, you've got a viable buyer as a seller, and it saves the buyer's agent a lot of time, and it also justifies why you've priced the property at what you have. If the property has some challenges to it, it's better to be forthright with what's going on with the property and provide a home inspection. How do you pitch it to a seller? It's a feature added benefit. Granted, if you're in a seller's market, is it that necessary? Not necessarily, but it is an added benefit, and it does help, especially helps with short sales, but hopefully those will go the way of the dodo bird in the near future. Where do I put it? Meaning when you get the home inspection, where do you put it? Like I said, you would attach it to the MLS listing as an attached document. Other ways to pitch it to them is you can say that if it's a recommendation that you have to them to do a home inspection, you can say to them that you will credit it to them at closing and have them pay for it up front. That's usually the way that I do it. Or you can pay for it and they can credit you at closing. And at the absolute last circumstances, you would just simply pay it for them. But I would do a credit type situation of one of the first two options that I mentioned. Vendors. How many should I have and what should I have? You should have at least 2 vendors in each category. Okay, so home inspectors, lenders, plumbers, handymen, lawn care people. You should begin to develop a good database of the various vendors that affect a home. Plumbers, termite inspectors. You should have at least 2. From a compliance standpoint, when a home insurance people, agents, when a buyer asks you for a referral, you can give them one, but you should try to give them 2 and tell them that they are not obligated to those vendors, but that is who you recommend. Also, a title company would be another option. But what you want to do when you gather your vendors is don't worry so much about what leads they're going to send you, because everyone and their mother is going to promise you that they have all kinds of leads for you if you send them business. And if I had a nickel for every time someone told me that. What you want to do is have people that you can trust, have people that are efficient, and have people that are punctual and respond quickly to requests. Especially with loan officers, you might have a great loan officer that you know of, but if they're too busy, it's going to impact your buyers. You want people that are, and your sellers, you want people to respond quickly, who know what they're doing, and the business referral type side of things will come after that once you develop a trust. But it is critical to have a solid core of vendors. Also, photographers would be another one that you might want to have as well. You can even get an accountant and attorneys on your list too. And this one, we can make a list later of recommended vendors to have to refer. The final walkthrough. The final walkthrough is you have the property under contract, you have the buyer on the transaction, you've done your home inspections, you're clear to close, it's 24 hours before closing, and you're going to walk through the property one last time just to make sure that everything is the same as it was when you first walked your buyers through it, where they determined that they wanted to make an offer on the property, or better condition. If it's a situation where some fixtures are missing that should not have been missing, some items are missing that were agreed upon to stay, some damage was done to the property that was not there before, those are all the things that you're going to look for. Why is it important? Well, it's important because you want to make sure that everything's intact just the way your buyers wanted it. Should you go to the final walkthrough? Yes, absolutely, positively, you better be there for that final walkthrough. Is it for new construction homes too? Yes, absolutely, it's for new construction homes. Typically with new construction, the building manager, construction site manager, whatever the builder calls their person there, will have a punch list. The punch list is all the things that they have to repair, and you want to, they'll typically walk you through and tell you what they still need to fix or what needs to be done. That's also the opportunity for your buyers to say what they want done and fixed. And then you will and should go through a second walkthrough where that person is showing you everything that has been completed on that punch list. If you want, you can also go through the final walkthrough to make sure if there was some painting that needed to be done still, but they'll have it done by closing, etc. You want to make sure that you do your final walkthrough. If something's not done in the final walkthrough, something's missing, something's damaged, you do not have to close. And you can require the seller or request the seller to make those repairs before closing. Don't be afraid to postpone a closing in a situation like that, because you're covering your bases and you're looking out for the best interests of your buyer. Closing statements. When do you look at them? What do you look for? What do you do with it? When do you look at it? You look at it whenever the title company provides you the closing statement. You should have a closing statement between 24 to 48 hours prior to closing. And it should be a pre-closing statement breaking down buyers and sellers' costs and credits. You want to look over them. Obviously, you want to look and make sure that your commission's there. But you also want to look at any other charges. If you were the buyer, did the seller try to charge any fees, or did the title company accidentally charge the seller things they were supposed to charge the buyer, and vice versa? You want to make sure that all of that's correct. All the fees are on there, HOA estoppels, making sure that the right cash is credited, etc., etc. That's what you look for. You also want to make sure that you look at it at least once prior to closing. So if you did not receive it, you should receive it and request it. Most title companies will actually send the closing statement to the agents and expect the agents to review them with their buyer and seller. A lot of times, if the seller has chosen title, whomever chooses title, a lot of times the title company will go over it personally with that person, whether it be the buyer or the seller. If the seller's chosen title, let's say, and you have the buyer on it, you want to make sure that you forward the closing statement to your buyer and ask them when a good time is to go over the statement and just review it with them, either by phone or in person, just to make sure that all the debits and credits are correct on the statement. You don't have to know all the answers if they have questions. You just need to go over it with them and say that you will speak to the title company and get back with them on it. Because the title company needs the approval, although we've seen a couple times that they tend to ignore that once in a while, but they should have your approval and buyers and sellers approval of the HUD, of the closing statement prior to closing. Does new construction try to get away with that a little bit differently? Yeah, a lot of times new construction will just send it to the buyer and not to you, but it is still your obligation and in your best interest to make sure that you look at that closing statement prior to closing. And again, if something's incorrect on it, you make sure that the title company corrects it before any closing occurs. You can postpone the closing if the closing statement is incorrect. Commission requests. When do you submit one? What do you submit with it? New construction too. When do you submit one? When your closing is complete, you have the check in hand, you have the closing statement in hand. That is when you do a commission request. Or if the title company is going to Federal Express the package directly to the office, you can submit one then as well. If the title company is going to mail, this is an FYI, if the title company is going to mail the check to the to us, to the office directly, and it's local, ask them if they're going to overnight it. If they're not going to overnight it, sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they'll just snail mail it if they're quote-unquote local. It's probably in your best interest just to grab the check from them and deliver it to the office so we can get it deposited quicker for you. Should you be at closings? Yes. It's not on here, but which I forgot, But should you be at a closing, or when should you? You should always be at a closing. Buyer or seller, you should always be at a closing. That is the most energetic and happy time, typically, or most relieved time for your buyers and sellers. And you should be associated with that, absolutely. There should never be a time that you're not there at a closing. You should always be at a closing. Always, always, always be at a closing. You should take a picture with your buyer or seller, having the keys, handing over the keys, whatever, and promote that as well. But that is a great time to share and bond with your buyer or seller, and also get to know the title company, etc. So I would say that it would be quite, well, let's just say I can't find a reason why you shouldn't be at closing unless there's some extenuating circumstance that's beyond your control. Commission requests. So you submit one when the closing has already happened. What do you submit with it? Well, first you go to eBroker House and you print out a commission request form, which is in the office documents, in the documents area of eBroker House. What you submit with it is a copy of the check, if you have it, the completed commission form, a copy of the closing statement, and if you have the buyer, a copy of the sales contract executed and any accompanying addendums. If you have the seller, we should already have the executed contract submitted, because you should submit the executed contract once you get it, and any addendums attached to that sales contract. So, copy of the check, copy of the closing statement, copy of the executed sales contract, any attached addendums with a completely filled out commission request form, which I will go over in a separate video, but it's easy, trust me. Also want to have any lock boxes returned if you were the listing agent and you used an office lockbox, that needs to be returned, or you'll be charged a fee for that. New construction too, yes, new construction too. You fill out a commission request form, provide the check, provide the closing statement, and you really want to get a copy of the executed sales contract. You need to get a copy of the executed sales contract. Will they send that to you automatically? No, but you need to request it, and they will provide it to you. So those are the things you need. This was just a basic rundown of these things. If you have questions in more detail, please ask me. I'll be providing or already have provided videos for buyers, which I do have that already provided. Vendors, I can make a list on the types of vendors that you have. Closing statement, we'll do a separate video on this in the near future. And commission requests, I'll do a quick video on how to fill out a commission request form. I hope this was helpful for you. And again, as always, if you have any questions, you can contact me directly. Thanks.